Has Ncuti Gatwa been let go from Doctor Who? That is a question that has graced the internet over the past many months, leading up to the release of Season 2 and during the release of Season 2. And yeah, a pretty interesting one. And today we're going to be looking over a couple of different things and really determining whether Doctor Who is letting go of Ncuti Gatwa and whether the 15th Doctor will regenerate at the end of this season. So yeah, pretty interesting video, and one that I'm definitely going to try and come into with an open mind and just really discuss what I think about this and whether I think that he's actually going to leave or whether I think he's going to stay on, etc, etc. So yeah, before we get into this video though, please hit that subscribe button, turn on the post notifications and smash a like on this video if you want more Doctor Who content on this YouTube channel. If you guys are enjoying these Doctor Who videos, which I know a lot of you guys are enjoying them, so I appreciate your support always on these types of Doctor Who videos and just for supporting this type of content on my channel, because ultimately this is the type of content I just love to just sit down and talk about Doctor Who. So yeah, but yeah, I've got a bunch of Doctor Who reviews coming out very soon on this channel. I've got a bunch of different merchandise I'm going to be reviewing, also a prop replica which I'm going to be reviewing as well. So make sure to hit that subscribe button and smash the like on this video, and without further ado, let's get into this interesting story. So yeah, I've got a couple of different screenshots right here which kind of break it down a little bit. So let's go over this first one right here. So this one says, the insider said, word on set is that the BBC will shelve the series for at least 5 years. So yeah, apparently this is some insider, some insider got some inside information or something like that. Somebody maybe who worked for the BBC or somebody who has some inside information. Always take these with a pinch of salt, because people could literally just be bullshitting, and it has happened in the past, people spreading false rumours, etc, etc. So yeah, do take this with a pinch of salt, but also it's still a possibility. So I'm still open to believing this, but I'm going into this not 100% believing this, but not 100% not believing it. So yeah, anyway, so yeah, apparently the BBC is set to shelve the series for at least 5 years and put it on hiatus, which, to be honest, I part of me can see this happening, especially if the deal goes down and the deal doesn't go through with Disney. I feel this could lead to either a couple of specials, maybe doing a couple of specials a year, or just putting the show on hiatus and rebooting it again, which I don't think is going to be a good thing. I think rebooting the show again is not great, considering we only got the last big reboot few years ago now, 2023, so not bad. The crew were told not to hold their breath for work on the series for at least 10 years. So apparently the crew were told basically not to expect to work on Doctor Who for at least 10 years. As we scramble to find work, those responsible get to ride off onto other well-played projects without any repercussions. Filming wrapped on Friday afternoon with no fanfare or celebration. So yeah, apparently the upstanding morally correct citizens, or should I say the upstanding morally correct individuals, Russell T Davies and Ncuti Gatwa, are just riding off onto other projects. They have other well-paid projects to go to. They don't need this for money. Russell can just fuck off and write something else, and Ncuti can fuck off and film something else. It's pretty obvious at this point. So I do see that happening, because, again, it seems probable because Ncuti actually does have things lined up. Ncuti has different things that he's doing. So does Russell. It's announced that Russell is writing some new stuff at the moment. So, again, these two can just go off and do their own thing. But that does, unfortunately, leave the rest of the crew in the dark. Are they going to get another job? Like, it basically effectively leaves the rest of the crew without jobs, and they've got to go and then look for more work, which is not as easy as if you're Russell T Davies or Ncuti Gatwa. So if they did this, and if this is true, that's pretty fucking low, especially if you're trying to preach this moral high ground with Doctor Who, and my God, they have been preaching it a lot in these past 2 seasons. I'll tell you that for sure. Here we go. Another little piece right here. Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor Who future is uncertain as the actor is on the verge of quitting. Again, take this with a pinch of salt, because it could be true, could not be true. Sex Education Time Lord will appear in his 2nd season of the Time Lord later this year. If later this year you mean May, that is April, May, I wouldn't really call that later in the year. Here's another headline. Exterminate. I see what they did there. That is... Do you know what? That is a little creative, and you don't get much creativity that actually lands. Doctor Who is facing axe as lead star Ncuti Gatwa quits amid woeful rating and fans' fury at woke storylines. Yeah, it's no secret that the fan base is currently split. There's a split into 3 parts, really. There's a large majority of people who will just blindly consume this and say that it is the best thing in the world, and say it's the best Doctor Who has ever been, and all of this stuff, which just simply isn't true. Like, if you actually look into the stories and you rub your brain cells together, this clearly isn't the case. Then you've got the other side of the spectrum, people saying it's all woke and shit. And they're also very much incorrect, because there are some good parts to this new series. And then you've got the middle ground, which is where I stand, where I can see there are some good parts to this new series, but I can also see the other side of things where, yes, they are crowbarring a lot of messaging into this series, and unfortunately, people don't like that. And it's evident in the viewing figures, etc., with the drop-off between episode 1 and 2. It's quite obvious that people don't like that, and so many other shows just go to support that. Like, even just look at, like, The Acolyte from Star Wars and how poorly that did. Like, that show was so unwell received. It just, yeah, it's not a great position to be in. Although Doctor Who, I think, can survive, because it can change. That's something great about Doctor Who. You can always change and manipulate it into a way where people will enjoy it. It's just whether, you know, Russell T Davies wants to do that, or if he just wants to continue going down the path of destruction. Then we've got the final screenshot right here. The show has been poorly managed in recent years, and there's a lot of people who've been working on the show for years and are now being cast aside due to poor leadership. I can see this happening. Russell T Davies has been known to be quite, should we say, problematic in the past. The number one key part in this was Christopher Eccleston, who literally, in Christopher Eccleston's own words, said the only way he would come back to the show, like the actual show, is if they sacked Russell T Davies. Christopher Eccleston must not like that man. And if Christopher Eccleston doesn't like him, he must have been wronged by him. So maybe Russell isn't the type of guy he portrays himself to be. That is a possibility. I wouldn't know. I haven't met Russell T Davies in person. I definitely haven't worked with Russell T Davies, so I wouldn't be able to tell you on that front. But from what I've heard, it's very, very mixed. Some people have a great experience, some people not so. I guess that is just the workplace, but Christopher Eccleston does seem to have some real dislike towards the people who had a part in managing that first series of Doctor Who. People warned that some episodes were getting too caught up in an agenda rather than telling a story, and these people got shouted down and ignored. Yeah, that is just kind of true. That I wouldn't even say it, like, because it is kind of agenda, but it is kind of like, in a way, there are certain tick boxes which are quite obviously quite forcefully forced into these episodes. It's so obvious. It's written in a way where it is quite standout and obvious. Like, you can go down a list of different topics that people are putting into modern day television and film, and you can literally go off and you can go episode 1, toxic masculinity, tick. Episode 2, I guess you could fit under racism, tick. Episode 3, deaf people and integration of deaf people into society in modern day and the issues that come with that, tick. You can literally just do that, and it's quite obvious in a way. And the people who obviously are going to say, oh, they're definitely not doing that. They wouldn't tick box or do any of that kind of stuff. They're not forcing and crowbar messaging into this stuff. They're just telling stories. Yeah, that you kind of have to be a special type of stupid to not notice this, because it is done so blatantly obviously. You either have to be a special type of stupid to not see these kind of things that are being put into these episodes, or you're just choosing to ignore it because it's popular, I guess. I don't know. So yeah, I do kind of agree on that one, but do I think that they're trying to push messaging to damage people? I don't think that is their main goal of this. I don't think it's to attack or damage people. I think they're putting it in there because, I mean, it's fairly obvious Russell's political stance, and he 100% has took his political opinions and views and all of that kind of stuff, and 100% wrote Doctor Who this season through that lens. But the only issue is with that is these topics and these views are subjective. There are two sides to every story, so writing something through one lens becomes blatantly obvious because you can spot it from a mile off. Anyway, Ncuti's first season, Shooty's first series, which began last May, attracted between 2.25 million and 3.18 million viewers, a tiny fraction of what it used to pull in. Which is true. The ratings are definitely down on Doctor Who, and when you compare it to other popular shows as well, you can tell that other shows are pulling in a lot more viewership. And I think this is to do with a couple of different reasons, mainly the writing quality and just the whole consensus around Doctor Who at the moment. The whole fandom is very, very split and has been since the Jodie Whittaker era. So I think that's why the viewing figures are down. And naturally, if you're going to continue to drive viewers away and tell people who are not watching and people who don't want to watch or have criticisms to give you to quote unquote touch grass and to that they essentially don't matter and we can do this without you, well, evidently you can't, because the viewing figures have dropped and they're down by a fair amount since the previous year. So it's a bit... There's parts of this which do seem kind of like, okay, the show's getting backlash, but I don't think that Ncuti would leave due to the backlash. If anything, I think Ncuti would want to stick with the role a bit more, because it's obviously something that him and Russell are very, very passionate towards, and the messaging that they do put into these episodes are something that they do obviously agree on. So I don't think that would have driven him out, but maybe if the show is getting cancelled, or at least put on hiatus for a couple of years, that's probably a good idea. And I think scheduling as well would be a good idea for Ncuti to leave, and an excuse for Ncuti to leave. Like, if you're uncertain of whether a third series is going to happen, your best bet as an actor is probably to sign out of that role on the second season, because you don't want to like put off other roles waiting for Doctor Who season 3 and then find out last minute that, oh, by the way, there's not going to be a season 3. That'd be like a shitty situation to be in, obviously. But yeah, let me know what your thoughts are on this whole thing. Do you think Ncuti Gatwa is going to regenerate? Do you think he's going to leave the show at the end of season 2? Or do you think he's staying on for the next season and there will be a season 3? But yeah, let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below as usual. Let me know whether you agree, disagree, somewhere in the middle, whatever. And yeah, thanks for watching. Comment, like and subscribe as usual. More Doctor Who content coming very, very soon. And yeah, thanks for watching. Comment, like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.